Ah, the other guys, the players who get no love. The guys that gave it 110% in practice, but it just wasn't in the cards to be a superstar in the league. Who am I talking about, you ask? Well, these guys. After Michael Jordan's Last Dance documentary, a lot of questions about many of the players in the series went unanswered. How good were some of these role players? How well did they contribute to the success of the team, if any? Did their careers after the Bulls team dismantle amount to anything? Here are 5 players that may have sparked your curiosity about their careers after watching The Last Dance. Luc Longley was the first Australian player to ever play in the NBA. The 7'2" Longley, that name is very fitting, was drafted in 1991 with the 7th overall pick by the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was very successful in college but had a hard time transitioning into the NBA, where players better matched up against his height and length. In the 1993 and 94 season, Longley would be traded to the Bulls for Stacey King. He would eventually make his way into the Bulls starting lineup in the 1995 and 96 season. The Bulls would set the best record ever at the time with 72 wins and 10 losses. Longley's production increased after each year with the Bulls, while he would have the best year of his career in the 1997 and 98 season, averaging 11.5 points and almost 6 rebounds a game. And if you're thinking, what, only 6 rebounds a game as a starter? Blame this guy. Longley was an integral part of the Bulls team, playing his role effectively, hitting the mid-range jumper consistently, setting screens, and moving into position to get the easy basket after penetration from Pippen or Jordan. Stats don't tell us how well he matched up against his opponents on defense, but his presence was known. Playing against the likes of Shaq, Ewing, Olajuwon during the 90s, he was strong and well equipped to do so. Longley would go on to win 3 championships with the Bulls, but at a cost. He suffered many nagging injuries than he cared to deal with. He was constantly playing in pain and dealing with some type of ailment from his body, and it would be no different after getting traded to the Phoenix Suns worth $30 million. Phoenix was led by Jason Kidd, and the team would sport winning records in the 2 years Longley was there, but his production was minimal, with 21 minutes of play and averaging 7 points and 5 rebounds during those 2 seasons. With his playoff experience with the Bulls, you may be thinking that at 30 years old he could lead by example with his experience. Not the case, as he averaged 3.5 points and 3 rebounds a game with only 17 minutes of play. Due to his demeanor and his laid-back personality, he earned a reputation of being lazy, but that's just who he was. It is possible that his body just couldn't keep up after the Bulls run. His final year would come with the Knicks after being traded and only playing 25 games due to an ankle injury that would sideline Luc and make it impossible to play without severe foot pain. At 31 years old and 10 years in the league, he would end his career with 7 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 block a game. Scott Burrell has an interesting story. He was the only player to ever be drafted in the first round in both the major leagues and the NBA. He was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays and played for 2 years with their minor league team. He would also play college basketball at the University of Connecticut at the same time, but would start to become better at basketball than baseball. He would be drafted in 1993 with the 20th pick by the Charlotte Hornets. Coming into the league, Burrell was an explosive athlete that could run the floor and knock down the open jumper. Scott played on a trio led by Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, and Muggsy Bogues that sported winning records for the expansion team the last few years the trio played together. Burrell would only average 5 points his rookie year, but it wouldn't take long for him to be a productive teammate on the floor. During his sophomore year, he would show that he belonged in the league, scoring 11.5 points and almost 6 rebounds a game, finishing 3rd in most improved player voting that year. In the 1994-95 season, Burrell would suffer a partial tear in his Achilles tendon and miss the next 20 games of the season and playoffs. The following year, he would only play another 20 games with the Hornets before being traded. Burrell went from a starter to now riding the bench for the rest of his career in the NBA, playing a limited role. Burrell didn't have an angry bone in his body and would be the perfect teammate playing his role and do whatever was necessary to win on the Bulls team. In Chicago, he averaged 5 points a game playing limited minutes coming off the bench. In the playoffs, he didn't see much court time with only 12 minutes a game, giving it his all when he was given the opportunity. He would win his only championship with the Bulls and then depart the following year to the New Jersey Nets. Again, much like the Bulls, playing limited minutes and scoring a few baskets a game, he never really was able to mimic his play from the first couple of years in the league. Burrell would leave the NBA and go on to play overseas in China, the Philippines, and Spain, while he would finish his career in Japan in the 2005 and 06 season. The 7-foot Canadian Bill Wennington was drafted in 1985 with his 16th pick by the Dallas Mavericks. Bill would play 5 seasons with the Mavs before playing for Sacramento. He would play only 1 season with the Kings and then play overseas in Italy for 2 years. He was then picked up by the Chicago Bulls before the 1993 and 94 season, in which it was his best year career-wise, averaging 7 points and 4 rebounds a game. Bill was an integral part for the Bulls, providing solid play on the court when needed. You can tell he left it all on the floor when he played. Although he did not play a lot of minutes with the team during the playoffs, he was a great guy guy to be around and understood what his role was. Much like Longley, he could shoot the outside shot, set screens, and provide necessary defense on the big man. Bill would become a fan favorite with the Chicago crowd and even have a burger at McDonald's in the Chicago area named after him called the Beef Wennington. In the 1996-97 season, he would suffer an injury that sidelined him for the playoffs. After the breakup of the Bulls, Bill would go on to play one more year with Chicago before playing his final season in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings. Bill's stats were nothing amazing, but he managed to play 13 seasons in the NBA and would end his career with 3 championships with the Bulls. It's funny, everyone you ask that has watched basketball in the 90s seems to know who Jud Buechler was. Like Wennington, he was also a fan favorite. The 6'6" shooting guard was drafted by Seattle but signed with New Jersey, only playing 1 year. He bounced to San Antonio for 11 games and went on to play with Golden State for 3 years with the team. While finally having some stability in his NBA career with the Warriors, he would score 6 points a game and grab 3 rebounds. Obviously, the highlight of his career was with the Chicago Bulls, where he played 4 seasons with the team in a limited role, where he would shoot the open shot whenever he would get the ball. His effective field goal percentage was 52%, which made him a threat whenever he was open. After the Bulls, he would go on to sign with Detroit, led by Grant Hill, and play 21 minutes a game, which was a career high for him. After playing 3 years with the team, he would go on to play 2 more years with Phoenix and Orlando. Jud Buechler is the kind of player you would want on your team, one who never complains and left it all on the court when it was all said and done. Some might not remember Randy Brown, but he was a point guard drafted in 1991 during the second round by Sacramento, playing 4 seasons with the team before signing with the Bulls. When the Bulls received Randy Brown in 1995, he would come off the bench and play backup point guard to Ron Harper. He was extremely athletic and aggressive. He had numerous facial dunks during games. Many of us thought that maybe he had a chance to start one day with the team, but because of his run and gun style of game and the offense is a triangle, it didn't really fit his style of play, in my opinion. After the Bulls dismantled, he stayed in Chicago for 1 more year during the 50-game lockout season and posted career highs in points, rebounds, and assists. After the lockout season, Brown would play a total of 86 games the next 3 seasons before retiring due to injuries. Watching The Last Dance and seeing some of these former players brought back a lot of memories. Although these guys were not superstars and didn't average 20 points a game, they were stars to a lot of people who were fans of the Chicago Bulls during that championship era and will always be remembered for their contributions to the team.